Here we are.
Yes, hi. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for the Demystifying Human Design podcast. My name is Ariane. I'm from Irani, and this is Nora from Rhymes with Pleasure. Rhymes of Pleasure. Rhyming with pleasure.
We're having so much fun with it. The last time the joke I made is the Rhymes of Pleasure, Nora. Hi.
Oh, yes.
That's a good start.
Hi, darling. We are here together to share our perspective, to share our insights, to share our demystifying understanding of the gate 55 in the human design body graph. And gate 55 is the gate of emotional depth. It's the gate of spirit. It's the gate of abundance. It's the gate of digging into the deepest aspects of ourselves and discovering the gold that is hidden within us by this experiencing emotions and experiencing the emotional wave within us, finding those extremes, finding those highs and the lows, the ebbs and the flows. And we're gonna feel into this. We're gonna feel into what does this gate mean for us? What does this energy mean for us? What is this aspect of humanity? What does that bring about in our conversation? And we're not going to explain the gate too much because we can Google it. We can find so much information about it in so many different places. We just want to give our opinions, our ideas, our feelings about it, and yes, stick to our spontaneous musings. Yes, reflections and insights. Um, so Nora, we've been this whole week, we've already been moving through the 55 gates. So a lot of emotions have been moving, a lot of feelings have been moving. We've already had several conversations, many moments where we met from this place of our feelings, and a lot already moved through us, came up. We've experienced this spirit in many different perspectives, I would say. And what is the aspect of spirit, the perspective of abundance that is most present in you right now?
Um, hmm. Abundance is strictly a question of the
Mhm.
spirit. I'm super passionate. I am. It's the one thing I just see in front of my eyes. It's so simple for me. It's so logical. It makes me go on the inside. Just it invites that juice for me on the inside, and that is oh, if I just put it in words, how the construct of is going. And abundance is strictly a question of the spirit. Where is the spirit? The spirit is inside of us. How does the spirit communicate to us humans mechanically? Through the nervous system. What is going on through the nervous system? Emotions. Emotions are not having words themselves. Emotions are having um, um, we're sensing them. They are inside of our body. It is a pure physical experience, sensation through the nervous system. And that is how we are built to know there is an emotion somewhere inside of us taking place. The mere fact that we're constantly thinking, why am I feeling what I'm feeling? What is it that I'm feeling? That's another story. That is our contamination of our emotional life inside of us, of our emotional body, of our emotional realm. That's a distortion. It's a contamination. But the pure experience of emotions is actually wordless.
Yeah.
And the words, there is a place for them. They can serve as an instrument to convey. the emotion, to communicate it. But after the awareness, after we have done feeling, after we have allowed the red carpet to unfold itself, or like the
Yeah.
ocean wave to, unfold itself, the wavy move, after that, through watching, at some moment, the emotion, we make sense of it. And then maybe the words can come.
Yeah.
But that's the place of words when we talk about emotions. It's not before, it's not while emoting, it's not while the wave is actually taking place and feeling. And obviously, I do my best to word it in such a detailed way, to just outline the purity of the emotional experience, and how in our everyday life we're probably contaminating it most of the time. And if our starting point is abundance is a question of the spirit, well, we live in a society that is far away from abundant. We live in a society that is embodying lack, and we're having no resources. We're being attacked. We're being threatened. So that is our state of the spirit. But what is possible for each individual, and that is an individual act, is one's own relationshiping, bridging to the spirit. And it's, even though it's a spiritual question, it's a super body question. It's a very grounded question. It's a very earthy question. And we have made the spirit be very airy, very abstract, very far away from our body. It's somewhere there. And the spirit, what I discovered, that's why I'm talking with such a smile and with so much ecstasy on the inside, like, that juice, is because of that simple perspective I discovered. And that is, the spirit is inside of us. It is communicating to us through the emotions that are taking place in that nervous system. It's like big trees and branches, and they're like, everywhere there are nerves. It's so beautiful. Our bodies are like instruments, like walking sensory. So just to scratch it and to give the ball to you, that is the jazz that I see from my perspective.
Yeah. I've definitely been so much experiencing this aspect of how physical emotions and spirit are. For me this week, I had this experience. I was walking outside in nature, which I do almost every day, and something really intense happened. And after that, I felt all this stuff moving through me. There was a lot going on inside of me. And I was just like, I need to do something with it, because I could feel my mood just kind of plummeting because of how intense and overwhelming it was. And I was just like, I need to allow this to move. But I was outside, I was in public. So it was just, I mean, it wasn't a busy place, but still, there's always people. And there's always this idea of like, oh, if I allow my emotions to move, people are going to think I'm crazy. People are going to think there's something wrong with me, because we don't do that. We don't show emotions. We don't move in any other way than just, marching along and doing our jobs and keeping our head down. If you do anything other than that, you fall outside of the norm, and it's just like, oh, this person is unpredictable and she doesn't know what's going on. She's dangerous. So, but I could feel like I need to allow this emotion to move. So I just checked my environment and there was nobody there. So I just allowed it to move. And at some point I was literally sitting on the ground, just like kind of crumbling. And I really needed that. It felt so good to just, allow all this emotion to physically move through my body, to feel it's kind of scraping through me, like, moving through my chest, through my pelvis, out through my legs, through my hands. And that really physical experience of the reaction that I was having to an intense experience. And after it had been done moving and I kept going, I kept moving, I started moving towards home. I was thinking about, this is really for me what the 55th gate is about, is that when we have an emotional experience, that we allow it to take us to that depth, to really allow that movement. I mean, emotion is movement, to really allow that movement to happen. That's all we really need in order to be able to process an experience. But because it's been shut down so harshly, and it's the punishment for allowing emotion to move through us is so harsh. We're being called crazy, and you're excluded. You're not normal. You're excluded from groups because people don't trust you anymore, because you're too emotional, you're too present, you take in too much space, even though this is literally something that every single human needs to do. We all need to allow that emotion to move through us. We all have that need, we all have that capacity, and every single human is suppressing this so harshly. And yeah, that's why for me the biggest lesson of moving through this 55th gate in the past few days is really an even deeper understanding of how we need that emotional release, how we need to be able to have that movement in our life. And I've been over in the past decade, I've been through to like workshops and dance place where you are allowed to move, where you are allowed to have these emotional cathartic experiences, where there is a space for that. And I remember like in the beginning when I had started doing that, after like maybe 2 or 3 times, I was like, I think I worked through all my emotions. I think I cleared up all my emotions. I have had 3 cathartic experiences. That'll do.
Oh
That's enough.
my
Done.
Oh, you make
All
me.
clean now. And I now
Oh.
see that I was only scratching the surface, and that we need to have one of these cathartic experiences, maybe even every day, in order to begin to process all the trauma and experience and everything that we've been moving through in our life, because we have never had a proper emotional experience, and never had a proper emotional reaction to anything, because we're just like, this is okay, I am fine, let's keep going, like a freaking robot, because we're not allowed to actually feel. So that has been alive in me for a few days. These yeah, like what you're saying, it's like this, it's body, it's physical, it's right here, it's so um real and present. um yeah, this is what for me the 55th gate, but maybe even the whole emotional center needs, is the space to move, the permission to release. Yeah.
Ah,
Mm.
that inspired me to add something to that.
Mm.
And my just with you, I love adding also the mechanical aspect,
Mm-hmm.
to step on it and to probably offer that refinement. Um, yeah, from a mechanical perspective, from a mechanical perspective, mm, the entire aspect inside of us humans that is responsible for emotions, the entire aspect inside of us humans in which emotions take place. If I use a poetic probably word, I can say our emotional body.
Mm-hmm.
If I use a human design word, I can say our emotional center. So it doesn't matter the wording, inside of us, we have that aspect. Okay, and that aspect is having two key principles. And one principle is that emotions, still for us humans, they are running like on gas. They are an engine. They are being driven. They are a drive. They're being driven from an engine. It's like, right? And the second aspect of emotions is that through emotions, we can have emotional awareness or awareness in another level, which is emotional.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you merge those two facts? How do you merge those two realities? How do you merge those two kind of different from one another characteristics between fire, engine, drive, and awareness in one emotional body within one human body? And that's the thing, because you kept on mentioning it. In society, we are not allowed to feel our emotions. And I was thinking, what we are not allowed is, or why we're not allowed is because that fire, I again have my fire, that drive, the emotional charge, when the mind kicks in, when the mind that is driven by the number one goal and focus, which is right and wrong doing. So the right and wrong measurement inside of us is automatically activated, and it starts giving opinions, shooting opinions to us. You can do this, you cannot do that. But the thing is that the emotion, so this is the mind aspect, but then the emotional aspect inside of us, it wants to breathe. The emotional wave wants to unfold itself like an ocean wave.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, because in life we have a spectrum of emotions. So if I choose the two extremes, if I choose the happiest and the ugliest ones, the happiest could be a high pitch of orgasm. When the orgasm, I cannot not talk about sexuality when we talk about emotion.
No, exactly.
Because that full body orgasm is also including that deep breath. And that deep breath is opening up the nervous system. And that opening up of the nervous system means also I'm allowing myself to feel on all possible levels. And so that high pitch, I'm not talking about any, I'm talking about this high pitch orgasm or that high pitch joy in life. Or that anger, when you're angry with some situation in life, you're just angry and you want to destroy. You don't like, you're angry. I'm taking my word back. Not you want to destroy, you're angry. That's pure emotions. But when the mind kicks in, the mind is suggesting how we act, how we react, having that emotion. And in the high anger, the mind often suggests two things. Either repress it, so you swallow your tongue, or you go out and you kill everything around you. I'm talking metaphorically, but sometimes in life, it's also very realistically. That's why we have wars at the moment.
Yeah.
Why we have people that are breaking stuff,
Yeah.
relationships, houses, everything. But those things, or you're having high orgasmic experience, but the mind kicks in and it blocks it.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot really experience it.
Mm-hmm.
So where I'm getting at is by taking us on this journey of describing the happenings on the inside, in our inner landscapes. Because you say we're not allowed to feel. And I want to show that clarity, I suppose, for why we're not allowing ourselves to feel. Because I'm a big advocate since a while in my life to feel, but I see that if we keep on beating the drum, hey guys, let's feel, let's stop that bullshit of not feeling, right? What I see, it's not that easy to shift, right? It's because we don't understand what is it we need to change. And that is where I'm trying to get at right now, is to offer that clarity of, to stimulate self-reflection, to offer compassion to that entire emotional body, in the sense of, it's not that a feeling in itself is the problem. It's not that the emotion in itself is the problem. It's what our mind, with opinions about right and wrong doing, not being, doing, is what is contaminating the emotional experience in itself. And that's why, because we have that, we have that conclusions that are passed to us over generations. If I am angry, I will attack people, I will shout at people, I will hurt people. So this is why I have the conclusion, it's not good. It's right and wrong. It's not good. It's wrong. Anger is wrong. And we're not making the differentiation that we're amputating a huge chunk of from the emotional body. And that's not it. It's what you do. And to give it a final touch to that viewpoint I'm offering is taking that deep breath, right? And for me, it feels visually like literally expanding my body to make space to feel, so that I become a home body, I become a temple, I become a vessel in which that wave, right, that emotion is safe to unfold. Because when I do that, I'm actually leaving the thoughts and opinions somewhere else, because I am focused with my attention not on my opinions. I am focused on, with my attention, on being one thing, expanding home body for the experience. I'm focused on allowance. And that practically really offers a change in the experience, and in our habitual canceling approach that we have to emotions.
It's this is such a
what do you think about that?
I think it's a very interesting point, and you illustrate it so beautifully. And I feel like, to add even further onto what you're saying, because we I believe that nobody is like, we don't actually literally tell each other emotion is not allowed. It's just that when we are growing up, we experience negative responses to our emotion. So, even
reactions. It's our reactions.
Yes. And even when we're crying, and people who mean very well tell us, don't cry, it's okay, you don't have to cry, stop crying, because when you stop crying, then everything is better. But we need to cry in order to move through the experience that we've just been through. So even from the best intentions, we suppress each other's emotions because we are not emotionally intelligent. We don't understand what emotions is, what their functions are, and we would just rather everything be okay again. And if it, as a child, when you're angry, you're told, no, you're not allowed to be angry, because, hey, even if the situation warrants anger, you're told, no, 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 you're not allowed to take in that much space. You're being loud, you're being impolite, you're not being a good kid right now. And, for every single emotion, we have a reaction from the outside world that we then internalize in order to prevent that rejection and that punishment that comes from the outside as soon as we do express an emotion. But the thing is that the emotions don't go away. They don't just like, we don't stop emoting, we don't stop having emotions, but we direct them in different ways. So instead of expressing them to people who we know will punish us and who will reject us, we express them in a different direction towards people who we know won't punish us. I think this is where bullying, stuff like that happens, where we express anger and resentment towards children who won't react negatively to that, who will just simply take it and be like, yeah, I deserve this because I am worthless. So I will take this bullying and just take the emotions of the bully upon myself and process that for myself instead of defending and punishing the other person for having emotions. And so this is kind of a dynamic that happens in life where when there's emotions that are coming up that we know, like people who are getting angry at people at work, who are angry at their boss, but they know if I tell my boss, if I express my emotions towards my boss, I will lose my job and I will not get money. So that's very unsafe to do something like that. So instead, they express those emotions at home with their spouse, who they know their spouse won't reject them or punish them because they have an unconditional love. So then they become angry at things that are happening at home, which are actually emotions that come from the workplace. And so we kind of redirect emotions from one situation to another. We kind of just I always visualize it as kind of like trying to hold a balloon underwater, where if you try to hold a balloon underwater, you can only do it for some time. It explodes at some point. So my point, I think, is that, we can say that emotions are not allowed, but emotions still exist. They are part of the human experience. And I think a very important part of becoming emotionally intelligent is becoming aware of the emotions that we are having, and whether the story that we are creating about them has anything to do with the actual trigger that brought those emotions, of started the movement of that emotion. Because then we can kind of intelligently, I mean, the interaction between the mind and the emotion, it's going to happen, but we can start teaching the mind how to think about the emotions in an intelligent way rather than in a reactive, defensive, suppressive way. Which, I mean, therapy is a beautiful tool for something like that, which is why I think everybody should be in therapy. But I think that would be a great start for
That
all
was
of
the statement. I'm not sure about that, but okay. It's your statement.
my statement. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's where my mind went into, where do emotions go if they don't disappear?
I
Yeah.
got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, teaching, I like that. Teaching, or I like to emphasize it again, teaching the mind. I don't like the idea so much, teaching the mind to think in another
Mm-hmm.
way of the emotions, because I think that's just free flow for another mind jazz, but rather teach the mind to watch emotions happen, to be an allowance,
Mm-hmm.
so that the mind is in service. to the spirit, because the spirit is sensing life, and we are aware of it. I mean, obviously the body, that instrument of ours, because that body is an instrument of ours, it's communicating to us through that sensing, reacting, and the mind, the best job it can do is just to be of service. To that is to watch, no thinking, the emotional experience. No. Yeah, for me, that wording, to think in an intelligent way, not even that, because I'm sure the mind will create really intelligent stories.
I'm being so
and
intelligent right now.
the focus, because we're talking here not about up in the body graph of human design that human design is suggesting about our human mechanics, mind up above, intellectual awareness, ajna. We're not there. We are in the emotional body. There is no thinking. It's aware-ring, if I make a verb.
Wearing, yes. Let's invent a word.
Right? It's becoming emotionally aware. And the only way, oh, it's so beautiful. The only way we can grow into our emotional awareness is not through thinking the emotion, but it's through the mind serving, devotedly serving, to watch. What can I see by watching myself, allowing my guest the emotion to be in my home body? What is there to see? And it's a way different experience, I believe, from everything we have seen, observed our entire life, from what we're seeing on the movies, right? Because I think movies are a big chunk of life that are educating us on the right and wrong doing of being human. It's, or anywhere in life, anywhere. There is almost nowhere an example of a being, of expression, of emotional intelligence, in what the potential of it is. We are just, I know, in my most emotionally reactive moments, experiences of life, I have until recently, until I woke up from that illusion, I have until recently believed I'm so emotional, until I found out I have never been emotional. I have been thinking and reacting and thinking. That's not feeling. I've been having my mind, oh my God, I'm such a sensitive creature, and my mind constantly giving me suggestions about what, how, right? It's bullshit. Why I say the word is because there is such a difference between where the attention is. If the attention is up, focused on a couple of things, separating, dividing, right and wrong doing, is the same thing, just three different words, but it's absolutely the same thing. And if the attention is down in the body, to allow the experience to be, that's two completely different ways of approaching life as a whole. And I just to wrap this up, I believe in our human language, regardless of what language we speak, Spanish, German, Bulgarian, Dutch, French, doesn't matter. Even the love language, French, same jazz. It's the human language. We say the words, you are being emotional, or I am being emotional, to something that's not it, because what it is in actuality is reactivity. And the reactivity is a result from the mind opinions dominating the entire emotional experience of life, the river of life evoking waves inside of us, and we feel touched. And that experience is just being really 99% of the time dominated from opinions about what is right and what is wrong as a doing. And so yeah, I'm also starting to change my own language as an expression of that awareness that I see at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one thing I really have learned from you, from the way that you talk about it, the way we experience together, is like the big the way we actually kind of turn emotion into a story and how quickly that process goes, and also the way that story changes the emotion, kind of like what you're saying, like the reactionary thing is that our mind makes something out of what we're feeling that is completely different from what we're actually feeling, because it goes through so many filters of, am I allowed to feel this? How can I feel this? What is the story? Who is causing it? How can I feel towards them? All these filters, the mind just like one after the other puts this filter on the feeling. And then in the end, by the time the mind has gained some kind of clarity, which is really not possible in the moment, but it likes to have that, so it works really hard to figure it out, then it has created, it's kind of transformed whatever it is that's going on. So then we're no longer in touch with what actually happened. What was the actual trigger? What was the actual feeling that we had? It gets completely distorted and diluted, like you say, like contaminated, and it becomes something completely different. And that's kind of, the reactionary thing, which admittedly usually isn't a healthy or clarifying or a good response to a feeling. So that's why we understand when people say, oh, you're not allowed to feel that, or don't be emotional, because we're like, yeah, I suppose the story that I have in my head isn't really nice and isn't really cool. So I suppose, yeah, I deserve to be rejected in that. But that's because that wasn't actually what we feel.
Yeah.
The way we just covered it in layers of toxic waste, let's just call it that for a second. And then we're just like, yeah, I suppose I'm not allowed to feel this because this is not really a good thing. But then the core of it, the source of it, what actually happens also gets completely ignored and rejected. And then on top of that is then the pain of being rejected, of not being able to see our own emotions, also gets kind of added to it. And it becomes this twisted thing inside of us.
Mm.
And yeah, that way we're just kind of, the way we can feel like our stomach is in knots, or our belly is just like, that's all these different knots that are kind of moments of trauma, whether major or minor trauma, when we had a feeling and it was distorted and twisted into something it's not, and then hurt even more, and then pushed back inside of us and said, no, you're not okay. You're not a good person for feeling this. You're a bad person because you feel this. Yeah, so and I think this is something so beautiful that you're saying, is that we need to find a way to let go of these words that we create around emotion, because that's really the only way I think, and that's what I'm taking from you, is that that's the way we can really honor emotion, by just taking out that whole filtering process and learning how to just be in the emotion in the story. And that's what we did this beautiful embodiment session one time, which you are so good at. And that's exactly what I feel like we did, that we find just a pure feeling, just a feeling, and not attach any story to it, not any reason or anything that we need to do with it, just what is there, what is here, what is there, and what does it need, what does it want, just going from, just kind of chopping off the head and just being like, okay, what is present. um yeah, that's really the best way, I believe, to deal with emotion. And at the same time, but that's, let me put it this way, that's what I'm trying to be able to do for myself in my everyday life. um and while I do that, while I try to find space and time for that, I notice that it does take a lot of space and time, and that it is kind of understandable that we are not able to find that space and time in everyday life, especially, when there's so much stuff going on, so much people to take care of, so much work to do. How do we find the time to also do that work of being present in our body? Yeah. Um, and another thing that I've always also noticed in our conversations, where if we just express the emotion that is there, it can initiate such a rich process if of not you know this is what I'm feeling right now, just saying that, and not making a whole big deal of like, oh, we need to fix it, oh, we need to make it better, but
Yeah.
just seeing like, oh, there's something there, how beautiful, how interesting,
Being
let's
present.
explore.
Yeah.
And such rich conversation happens when we move into that.
Mm.
Yeah. How is your experience with yeah, wordless emotion like that?
Oh, it's in our private life, uh, with each other, I've been sharing and mentioning bits and pieces. It's, for me, it's revolutionary. I'm experiencing a second life, ever since I started connecting to that and seeing that. It's um, yeah, it's life giving for me, to have that knowing and to be dedicated to practice it, basically. And some thoughts that I was having while I was listening to you was, often, so often. I mean, if I don't say always, I'm gonna say so often. When with each other, we ask, not me and you, with people, humans, when we ask ourselves the question, how are you? How do you feel? And how do you feel? How do you feel? That one question. My God, it's stories. And I it's blah blah blah. It's stuff that are not essential. They're not communicating anything about the feeling body. The only thing that all those words are communicating are constructs and stories and opinions. And those opinions, they are driven on the energy of the home body, of the feeling home body. Because I said the emotional home body has two basic characteristics: engine, drive, gas, and awareness. So that gas engine, it's always expressed somewhere. And if it's not expressed there where it needs to be expressed inside of the body, if the attention is not going there, then that engine is, my God, it is fueling up here the mind and the stories. And we create so big stories. It's anymore, it's not that, for me, it's not mind blowing. That for me is just ignorance. And it is what it is. It's things have names. And to many things, we are given the wrong names in our civilization. And here, especially because emotions as a topic generally, as an aspect in society, is one of the most tabooed, taboo or taboo?
Taboo, yeah.
What is the tabooed or taboo?
Taboos.
I'm not sure what the verb is. I forgot it right now, the word in English. It's
It's
the
been
big
tabooed. It's been made taboo, I suppose.
made as the biggest taboo. Um, but it's also a paradox because we crave, we're so hungry. We're so hungry to feel. We're so hungry to feel. And we're so scared of it. Um, yeah, but if I let go of that perspective, hmm, there was something that you said that really touched me. Um, yeah, we're it's what I'm writing. I'm recently producing a lot of text, and I keep on writing actually about what we're talking about. And there is a phrase that I keep on having very often in my head, and I keep on writing it almost everywhere. We're too busy to feel
Mm.
ourselves. We're too busy to be in touch with our spirit. We're just too busy. We're too busy. We're too busy to save the world. The climate is gonna die. We're gonna make money to buy the big expensive electronic cars. Or to buy the new expensive insect powders with which we're also gonna save the planet. Anyways, I'm not gonna. I just wanted to offer something to stimulate um, self-reflection for whoever picks it up, or if you pick it up, or if we both pick it up, you know. But I'm not gonna go in that direction. But my point is, what is my point? I had we're so busy.
Yeah.
Hmm. We're either busy with saving the planet or we're busy with our own things we think. I don't know. Honestly, if we ask ourselves, what are you doing? Honestly, essentially, at some moment, each of us can see how we're just filling our timetable with just something. But in reality, in the essence, that something is not essential. Anyways, so we're too busy with something and to watch movies, to drink the alcohol, to talk, to, I don't know, to do
Yeah.
something. And the reason, because you mentioned it, and I find it so beautiful that she got inspired to go in that direction. The reason it touches me so deep, the reason I'm taking that rather slow time right now to talk about it, to scratch it, to slowly introduce our attention in it, is because now here we come to the culmination of it, and that is we are too busy to be in touch with our spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
and by and such a paradox
Right.
because we are so disembodied, so out of any touch with our spirit. We so much want to have the best lover in our lives. We dream of this best relationship in our life. There's this one person that is gonna take me all, but I am not the person that takes my all. I am actually the person rejecting my all because I'm too busy. But I keep on dreaming the dream that somewhere outside there is gonna be this one person taking me all in. How ridiculous Hollywood story is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's welcome to the jungle.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I don't know. I guess we're busy to live for money or for something. I don't know, for money or for status or for struggle and worry, because there are people who find excitement in being dramatically struggling. There is everything, but it's so simple. That's the entire message I want to
Yeah.
convey. Anything else? Of course, the way we have constructed our everyday realities is not supportive of embodiment in itself. It is not supportive of being in touch with the spirit. It's not supportive of abundance is strictly a question of spirit. It's not supportive of that. To be creating an everyday frame of the time, right? To be creating a reality, a week timetable that is actually of support to the spirit, that is of support to be in aware connectionship and relationship to the spirit, that to me, in my understanding, is revolution.
Oof. Yeah.
And that is what puts me on fire. Because unity, aligning, that the mind starts serving the right, the awareness, the emotional awareness, that the spirit can fill up that body, that then the eyes start glowing, right, that then the energy is that we gotta do something. It doesn't come from outside, it's our own deed. And it starts with taking the attention in and just connecting back, not to the concept of what do I feel, connect back to the physical body, somatic activation, and just watch. What is there? Don't think about it, watch it. And all of a sudden, the experiences, you start feeling your spirit. And it's the most fulfilling. Oh, that nectar, that juice starts actually flowing. I'm up for that revolution.
Let's go. Yeah.
I took it a little bit long here, but I wanted to offer some presents.
Yeah.
To that.
Body presence.
In our hearts and in our mind, presence to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel adding something, or do you feel
I feel
relaxing all of a sudden, right? The energy relax.
yeah, I feel as I would like to have some final thoughts and round off this inspiriting conversation. Yeah, with what for me is the most essential thing in this is that we need to give ourselves the permission to feel, and that's where it starts, where we start to kind of untangle all those knots that have built up in us over the years, and we are the only ones who can untangle them. We're the only ones who can see them for what they are, and we're the only ones who have the power to release them. We are the only ones who really have the power to give us permission to feel and to give ourselves that time and space every day to have a moment to feel whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like, wherever that moment is. I really believe that that's where it starts. And not from a place of discipline, not from a place of the mind where the mind says, oh, I have to do it, is to be good, to be better. But just whenever something arises, whenever we feel something, to notice that our mind takes over and holds on to that and makes it into something, to become aware of that process and be like, oh, wait, hold on, I'm doing it. Okay, let's just feel. Let's just shake it out. Let's see what happens if I just let go of the story. Just because I believe those little moments can be so powerful because they accumulate, and that's the revolution. It's like every single little moment where we give ourselves permission to feel.
Presence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are your final thoughts, final moments?
I think before that, honestly,
Mm,
at least for that here, meeting frame video, yeah, I feel it's enough. Um, but just last one is I am inspired recently by the word compromise and
mm,
not compromising. And I see myself compromising less and less and less and less, and just prioritizing the creativity and the creation of the space in which at least my and the people I meet, that people that are in contact with me, um, spirit awareness, emotional awareness can be. And right now there is this in society very famous trend. It's called slow food, slow fashion, slow probably sex. And I realized yesterday while cycling, yeah, anyways, that was another story with the cycling, but I realized it's probably presence. Because being present, we are connected and we have the knowing of how quick or how slow to be, right? It's not
mm,
about going to the from quick to slow. It's again that split mentality. It's again that dividing mentality. It's again that black and white mentality. It's again this or that. It's
yeah.
changing something.
Yeah.
But what about just presence? Presence.
Just. Yeah.
The mind is somehow taught,
Mm, just.
right? To practice presence to the body. Just watch the body. If there is one thing from that video from me and Rhymes of Pleasure, how to increase our pleasure in life, is let's become more present to our nervous system in the body. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My dear, well, I thank you for your time and presence. And I hope that our together time and presence is landing and stimulating presence and compassion inside of the minds and hearts of our viewers on that Demystifying Human Design channel. And everybody watching, feel free to empower, to show, to exercise your power to support your liking of us. Share us. If you're here at the end watching, probably you're liking something. Share that message in your community of compassion and presence, probably. And yeah, click the bell button, subscribe, get notified. We're in here, I guess, once a week, every week. And that's from me. I say
Yeah.
bye. See you next week. Big love.
Mm.